Jenna, thank you for having a bad experience. What's up, guys? And today I thought I would kind of take a moment to talk about Jenna Marbles. So recently, if you don't know, she went and bought some fish and she had a very terrible experience with it. Now, I'm sure some people attacked her, which, guys, don't do that. The most important thing to do whenever anybody is unaware of what they're doing is to educate them. It's always best to educate somebody before you attack them for doing something wrong, because in honesty, they probably didn't know that what they were doing was wrong. So, education is important, and every moment is a teachable moment, which is why I'm so excited that Jenna, in the beginning, said that she was going to keep the video up for education, but just added her bit in the beginning, because any moment is a teachable moment, and people should always be learning, and that's something that I really strive to do in my channel, is to teach people something new each vlog, even if it's about fish and stuff, because I absolutely love fish, and I just read about them all day. It's fucking weird. I know. I have a problem, but it's a good one. And I, for years, have been fascinated with aquariums. I've worked with them for years, managing over 2,000 plus gallons of livestock. So I just love aquariums. They're a big part of my life, and for some reason I haven't really brought that to this channel, and that's something that I really want to do. And unfortunately, Jenna, thank you for having a bad experience, because that's given me something to talk about in order to kind of get that going. So, thank you, girl, but I'm sorry for your experience. It sucks, and it happens all the time, and we're gonna get onto that in this video. I kind of want to split it up into three basic parts, and if you came here to kind of see the video and expect me to kind of break the video down and talk about it, that's not really how I'm going to react to this. However, I'm going to kind of take three key points that I got out of her video, and we're going to kind of talk and elaborate on them. First key point is going to be responsible pet ownership. Jenna is kind of irresponsible in the fact of getting a pet usually on a impulse, most people would say, but the thing is that responsible pet ownership, I believe, is kind of like most things, fluid in a way. You can be responsible in many different ways, even though one person's definition of responsible may not be the same as someone else's. For example, I kind of think that responsible pet ownership means that even if you get a pet on an impulse and know nothing about it, you do all you can to learn about it from the people you're getting it from, you learn as much as you can from the internet, and if you are doing something wrong, or you just can't do it, you own up to the fact that you can't support this animal even though you really want to, and you bring them to somebody who can, or back to the place where you got them from, even though it may hurt you a lot. Now, when it comes to going to buy fish from a store, you're going to find a lot of times that the business itself is literally just that. It's a business. You may find people who enjoy their work, you may find people who enjoy the hobby, and have fish tanks at their houses and such. It seemed like the guy in Jenna's video was just kind of going through the motions to sell them what he could, and to get them out the door with a whole setup in order to make a good profit for the day off of at least just Jenna. Honestly, that sucks. You're gonna run into it. Just like in any job, they don't always hire the best suitable people for the job. It's just anybody who's ever worked a job knows that. That's going to go for the same when you're going shopping places. Relying on the specialist is kind of not the best thing to do. It's definitely a good starting place, but the issue with that is that not everybody has the answers. Not even all the internet has the answers. All of the internet may be wrong sometimes, just like the guy may have mentioned in Jenna's video, but on the things that are often talked and corroborated by multiple people, you can definitely take a lot of truth in that, especially on hobby forums like Fish Lore or Aquarium Advice or even Reef to Reef. Those are three that I've used myself that are great, amazing resources for beginners, advanced pet owners of aquariums and corals and different brain corals like Fabia fragum and stuff that is really hard to keep. And even though a lot of brains are generally simple, but we'll get into that later. And responsible pet ownership even falls to the fact that Jenna even felt responsible for them, her barbs suffering. And that's, whether or not they were suffering in that tank is up for debate if you want to, but I definitely say that having them in a tank as a bioorb is cruel, especially because many countries outlaw them for the fact that it distorts their vision and stresses them and other things, which then even makes me think further that there could even be a whole conspiracy behind that, per se, and the fact that When I've gone to fish stores personally, I've never really seen great conditions. I've seen a lot of fish in like decay. I've seen some fish dying and just fighting each other, putting fish in too small of an area for sale, like yellow tangs that need like 40 plus gallons to swim around in, putting them in a box this big for sale and just kind of letting them die because I guess they probably get a credit from the company that they order them from and it doesn't really hurt their inventory. And so like as long as they sell you a fish and if it dies on your end, then they can just test your water and be like, oh well, your parameters are a little bit off here and there, so that's probably what killed it, no refund. That's exactly what happened to me once. I bought a blue Florida spiny lobster and that thing was beautiful. I paid like $95 for this lobster. And I shit you not, the thing died within 12 hours of being in my tank. After a perfect acclimation, after having my tank set up for over 2 years and being a perfect environment for it, with no other fish and just coral in it. And also, I even tested all my parameters on a spectrophotometer because at the time I worked at a marine science center nearby and I had access to amazing water chemistry tools and additives. And they said that my water parameters were like piss poor. It was like the level of a tank that had just started cycling. And like I shit you not, I watched the guy test my water and I watched him drop other drops of water from their tank water into my shit. So I honestly don't trust a lot of fish stores, even ones with good reviews, because I've been to ones that have like 5-star rating from over 50 people, and I'll deal with bullshit like that. Now I think we should get into the second topic, which is going to be how to enter the hobby. So, the hobby of aquariums is definitely an amazing one. It's got a huge community, just like many other hobbies. Because honestly, if you're interested in something, you're going to find other people who are interested in it, and then it just goes from there exponentially. And aquariums are just great because they are amazing for just homes. They're amazing to have for children around. If you have kids, it's great for their imagination. It's great for calming ADHD sometimes. It's great for Alzheimer's patients, which in multiple studies with helping them recover their memories very slowly and in minor bits, but still, any progress is progress with Alzheimer's. It's a fucking terrible disease. It's got positive benefits if you have high blood pressure and soothing it. It's got great soothing and calming effects and things for like yoga or even just general feeling. In terms of feng shui, if you keep it in the southeast, it's great for wealth and like prominence, and if you keep it in the north, that's the second best section, which is great for your career. And then if you keep it in the east, that's a good spot to keep it for family. So if you have a family, keep your aquarium in the east. Like feng shui, man. You feeling it? You feeling the feng? Because I'm feeling pretty shui. Aquariums are just great in general. They're a great hobby to have because it's kind of like just building something and growing it from the ground up. It's still your pet, but like you can have plants in there and you can have different animals and organisms in there all in one central location. That's just amazing to look at and really pretty. And that's really like what I can say about aquariums. There's just so much variety in it. There's so many different things you can do with it. You can landscape the fucking Grand Canyon in a freshwater tank. You can get into custom tank building like I've dabbled in before, and like I built an aquarium out of a gumball machine, not rounded though because that'd be cruel. And like there's so much stuff. There's ponds are just super tranquil, great areas to relax outside and put a bench by and grow some trees and plants around there. And you don't even have to do just koi. You can do angelfish. You can do comets, which are a type of goldfish that are those really cheap ones, like feeder goldfish. Those things are pretty as fuck. You can do anything. You can do shrimp in there. You can do crawfish in there. You can do a bunch of stuff, and it's great to balance the ecosystem, which is like something that I've learned while I was in Sweden with like ponds and permaculture at one of the farms that we went to at Ilva's. And there's just so many great benefits to even getting into the hobby that I highly recommend anybody who has a minor interest in fish to do it. You can even get into it to do aquaculture, to grow your own freaking food by raising mahi-mahi, which are super easy because they're bottom feeders and will basically eat anything. There's so much awesome shit out there about the ocean that, like, we don't even know, and I'm getting on a tangent because the ocean makes me fucking excited, and this is why I'm going back to it for school, and like, oh my god, just fish! And then there's saltwater aquariums, which is a whole other world that opens up whenever you get into this stuff. And like, boy, just do it! If you really do want to get into the hobby, I highly recommend into going to your local pet shops and definitely supporting them, looking around at their fish tanks, looking at their livestock, seeing how everything is, maybe asking some questions, not necessarily diving right into it head first, like Jenna did, but just getting all the information you can and collecting it so that you can find what's best for you. Because there's definitely fish and different things to fit every type of person. Like, if you aren't the best at keeping up with cleaning, there's ways to combat that. In saltwater, you get a cleanup crew. You get your algae, you get your hermit crabs, you get your snails, your turbo snails, a bunch of different types. And then in freshwater, you get like your different algae pickers, your grazers, your shrimp, your plecos. There's options for everybody out there in every skill level in order to get into the hobby. And I highly recommend doing it, looking into every tank and option, researching it, looking at videos. And I know the thing is, watching these videos is going to make you want to jump into it sooner. But don't. Just take a minute, relax, and take in the information, because it's how you will best get into the hobby in order to produce the results you really want. Otherwise, you may end up spending more money than you want to in buying replacements for things that died that you may have been able to save. And if you want to get into freshwater, Jenna made the unfortunate mistake of using plastic plants. Plastic plants are known for damaging the slime mucus kind of layer on fish around their scales, which is very protective against diseases, against predators, and just in general, it's a big reason why you don't touch fish with your hands or try to pet your own fish. And the only other like fake alternative that is okay is cloth plants, which still have a chance to cut them, and it's a lot better than plastic. But if you're gonna get plants, it's honestly best to go with live plants. It may take a little more work to keep them and to keep up with the cleaning. They're so good for the ecosystem of the tank and everything, all the balancing of the water, the cycling, and they're really cheap. You can get baby tears, dwarf baby tears that are really easy, Java moss that's easy, and I think I've bought them for little squares of them, and they've just spread across my tank real quickly for like $2. Bamboo is super cheap and super well growing, and nice things you can do with that is landscaping, and once it starts to grow out of the tank, you can take more sand. And I highly recommend bioactive sand if you want to like cycle the tank quicker, especially compared to gravel. Gravel's definitely good to mix in there so that you have a different mix of textures for things. But cool thing to do is like make a hill out of sand and just have the bamboo stick out a little bit out of the top of it, and maybe you can float a thing like a Zen garden. I've tried something like that before. My Zen garden kind of blueprint wasn't the best. It leaked water, so I'll be working on that in the future, and maybe you guys will see a video. There's just a lot of different options for plants and a lot of different things you can do. And if you want to go for saltwater, I highly recommend coral. But if you want to get coral, you definitely need to look into your lighting, because LED lights are some of the best things you can use right now, especially the most abundant on the market. Don't get me wrong, you can use bulbs, but I don't like the amount of heat they produce. I don't like how bulky the systems are and having to reorder the bulb so often. So that's why I like LEDs, personally. And you can get a wider spectrum, I feel, with them. But I can light like a 10-gallon nano tank for $50, and a couple years ago I couldn't do that. I had to spend like $300 for decently controlled lights. And if you want to get in that, there's a bunch of starter corals that are really pretty that you guys can use. Like, I've got some example photos of, these are some corals that I've grown myself. I had mushrooms, I had zoas, I had pallies, I had hammer corals, and I had a bunch of different LPS and SPS, and they were just absolutely easy to grow, pretty great to take care of, and honestly some amazing, beautiful things to look at night whenever my blue lights came on. Even during the day they were vibrant. And you can even get different corals that move on their own, that like pulsing xenia. Some people consider them pests because they like to spread over everything and they can take over, but they pulse like this all the time, like Snapchat of Angel, for example. The ocean is just fucking cool, and you guys should have a little slice of it in your house. That's really all I'm trying to say. And now, the third topic that I'd like to talk about, which kind of is in line with the second one, but I feel like it's its own because it's really important to narrow this part down. And that's choosing the right tank for you. When choosing the right tank for you, a lot of different things need to be taken into account. Do you know how to set up filtration? Do you know the different parts of it and like what you should add to it for different animals, like carbon? Do you need calcium filtrates? Do you need magnesium, different things like that? Do you need live media? You know what you need for lighting, because a lot of tanks and sets may come with lighting. You can buy kits for normal rectangular tanks, or you can buy kits for like more aesthetically pleasing tanks that have like the filtration built into the back, like different brands like Fluval, Aquariums, BioCube. Rounded tanks are okay, and like cylindrical tanks can be okay, but straight up circular all around, no. Because rounded tanks are necessary for people who want to have things like sharks, cat sharks, or bigger tanks like Tracy Morgan's. I think it was Tracy Morgan's on Tanked, and where he had a couple ocean-dwelling sharks. Now, the thing about sharks is a lot of them need to constantly swim in order to keep breathing, except for things like nurse sharks and relatives, because they have a muscle that allows them to move it to pass oxygen over by moving water, whereas sharks need to swim in order to move that, and yeah, rounded corners so that they don't bump their noses in and damage their snout. It's really important to choose what tank is best for you, and if you want something that's really inclusive all in one, that doesn't take extra research to figure out what filter size you need, what different filter media you need, what lights you need, if you need a bulkhead, like power head on the side for extra flow, like if you're doing coral, different things like that, you can find kits, and some of them are coming with all-inclusive filtration, like the BioCube for saltwater and freshwater. It comes with a section in the back that's basically what would be known as a sump, where your filtration goes through. You have like a sponge, a power head that pushes the water back through, and then you have like two flow spigots that are usually moddable by adding extra plastic pieces, and you can direct your flow from the tank where you need to. So, like, if you need high flow for a certain coral, then you can, like, you know, make an area high flow, low flow, medium flow. It's kind of ways to set up an ecosystem. That's the thing about making an aquarium, is that that's what you're doing. You're building a mini ecosystem. And it's important to know how it works, the ins and outs of it, and what it requires. And sometimes having a very well set up tank is what's partially required, because you need to make sure that everything fits and that everything kind of like goes together to create a holistic ecosystem. And now, maybe you want to do turtles. If you're looking for a tank like that, you need to have a section where basically they can climb up on land where there's no water, because turtles aren't always in the water. And at least, yeah, because turtles aren't always in the water. And there's different tanks, like brands, I think, by Exoterra. They're a big maker of terrariums, and I believe they make one turtle tank that's real cool. It, like, goes up and swoops up the side, and it's all rimless, so it looks real sleek. And then on that side bit, you can, like, set up a floating log habitat or something. And it's real nice, and you can make all your plumbing come out from the top, and you can have, like, a waterfall. There's real cool shit you can do, guys. I honestly recommend going to research as much as you can. Lots of YouTube, lots of Google or Bing, if that's, you know, your thing, I guess. Inferior. Just research it, go out, guys, and there's a wealth of information out there, especially through the internet and even your local shops, that'll help you in order to learn everything you need to in order to take care of your little scaly, fishy friends. And it's a real great hobby, one that's brought me a lot of joy throughout the years, and one that continues to make me happy whenever I think about owning another fish tank, because you can never have too many, at least in my mind, because I will buy all of them and I will have so many different types. I'll have a river tank, I'll have a zoa tank, I'll have a zoa garden tank, I'm gonna have a freaking like freshwater landscaped specialty shrimp tank. Those exist, the bright colored shrimp, and like I'm probably getting on a tangent, but anyway, basically I just think Jenna did a real great job of realizing that she needed to be a responsible pet owner, and that she was a responsible pet owner, and realized she could not take care of them and was told the wrong information and brought them back. in order so they could live somewhere that was more comfortable to them. And that takes a lot of maturity, that takes a lot of self-awareness, and I applaud her for that. And it's especially been great for me, kind of in a weird way, because it's made me want to talk about this stuff on my channel, because I am a huge fan of the ocean and fish, and it's honestly what I'm going back to school for. And I have a lot of information I feel that I can give to people, and that I can just have a great time setting up my tanks here, like on the vlogs that I do and such. And I think people may enjoy that. So, thank you, Jenna. And I'm glad that you were able to get everything solved. I'm sorry you had such a bad experience. It really does suck, and it does happen, and I hope this doesn't deter you from wanting to own a fish in the future. And if you need any help, I know I am very minor, but I am here to help you if you need it, and I'm sure you have a wealth of information out there from other people as well. And yeah, thank you all for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and definitely, just, if you want to, just be like, yo, man, I like your stuff. And I'll be like, thanks, fam. Litty titty. Bye.